Okay. Hey, folks. Um, Great to be here. My name is Cody Stover, and I am joined by Giorgio Leonardi. We are both on the marketing team here at Customer IO, which, if you didn't know, is the customer engagement platform behind Parcel. And I think probably at least some of you in the audience use Customer IO to build out your email campaigns, your SMS campaigns, your multi-channel, building segments, building data workflows. We're going to kind of take an outside the box a little project today on how we can use AI and APIs to kind of build a journey that adapts and reacts to exactly what someone is doing email by email as they go through. So we want to jump in here in just a second, just to give folks time to join. We're going to go to a couple of polls to start. So this first poll, and Naomi, if you could pop this one up, we want to know, so if you were to listen to Spotify for a full workday, let's say 8 hours, how many API calls do you think are ran just by you alone doing 8 hours of music listening? Let us know there in the poll. And while we wait, Giorgio, you work with APIs a lot. What is an API, and kind of for somebody maybe who is approaching this for the first time, how can they start using APIs?
Sure. Hey everyone. Glad that we are everyone here. Yeah, so I wouldn't say that it's hard to use APIs, but you can always approach them in a pretty easy way. You can start with a graphical user interface such as Customer IO, Postman, or even Zapier. And then once you hit that next level, you can actually join the code side and start programming your own APIs with JavaScript or Python. So really, is the leverage to understand APIs and to use them is quite big, and you can just use the whole documentation that's available for free in the web. So yeah, what is an API? Essentially, it stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's essentially the middleman between software applications. So in order for one application to talk to another, usually they run APIs in the back end. So you can think about that as you go to a restaurant and then you ask something, you ask your order to the waiter, who then takes to the order to the kitchen, and then the chefs prepare your order, and then you get back your food. That's essentially how APIs work. And you can think as many examples APIs run. Common use cases are your mappings, your mapping apps, your social media apps, or even when you just play whatever song you prefer in Spotify.
Wonderful. I'm looking at the poll, and it looks like the most votes came for the 1.8 to 5.7 thousand API calls. So let's actually jump over to the answer. And the answer is 144,000 to 288,000 API calls during an average workday if you're listening to Spotify for 8 hours. So pretty wild. And we got this data off of Spotify's website. We assumed you're listening to music, that second most active category they have there on their chart, which is 5 to 10 API calls per second, which would be 18 to 36,000 per hour. Multiply that by a full 8-hour day, and you're coming in somewhere around 200,000 API calls just for one person to listen to Spotify. So there's a lot of scale going on here with how much is happening in the background. So our second poll, let's talk a little more on the AI side. How many AI generated images were created in 2023? So see that one pop up on your screen or over in the polls tab. And Giorgio, while we wait for responses to come in on this one, AI can be a lot of things, but in general, what are some practical problems that AI can maybe solve?
Yeah. I mean, I think that pretty much every one of us have heard about AI and taking off jobs, and a lot of conversations that we have been going on for the past years. But essentially, AI is a really powerful tool. It can solve many issues. At the top of my mind, I can tell you two examples. It can revolutionize the fashion design industry, for example. It can help fashion designers to optimize their tasks, create new pattern creations, optimize their designs, or even just forecasting their trends. It can also be really revolutionizing when it comes to the food industry. It can help the food production improve. It can improve the food safety, and it can also give chefs and also people in the restaurant business to create more nutritious foods and more delicious food for you. One example is DeepMind. This is a company that they develop an AI algorithm that actually can create recipes. They then analyze the food, and then based on your taste and your feedback, it will generate more food that you will actually taste better in the future. And then, I don't know if any of you heard about the SaaS convention last week in Las Vegas. There were two AI use cases that really, I think Cody and we resonated, that were pretty interesting. The first one on the left side was Belly. This was actually a product that Samsung released in 2020, but now they are really taking it to the next level. It's essentially, if you have ever seen the Wall-E movie, it's a little assistant. It's gonna follow you through your home. It's gonna give food to your pet. It's gonna react based on your commands that you will be able to type in a chat base, similar to ChatGPT, which is pretty neat. And then on the right side is the R1, first ever hardware personal assistant device, and it's essentially all the AI condensed in just one single device that will run the tasks for you. So it can do things like play music for you, order a cab for you, order food for you, or even make payments for you.
Yeah, thanks, Giorgio. I think the pace of AI is incredible, and I don't think it's probably slowing down. And that kind of leads into the answer to our poll question here, which a lot of folks, let's see, most popular answer was 5 billion AI images created in 2023. Correct answer was 15 billion. And I think this chart on the next slide kind of helps put this in a little bit more perspective. So this chart shows the time that it has taken us in human existence to reach 15 billion AI images in general via AI. It only took a year and a half. Photography, it took 149 or basically 150 years to reach that 15 billion image mark. So as you can see, that graph is just a hockey stick that's probably not slowing down. And I know we're getting super futuristic here, but actually before we dive into the rest of our presentation, I wanted to just take us on a little walk down memory lane. So how many of folks in the audience remember these books, the Choose Your Own Adventure series? Let me know in the chat if you have. I loved these as a kid. I think they probably still are coming out with these books, but essentially what would happen was you would be the main character in the story. And whenever the main character came to a certain decision point, you would have something like this on your page. You can decide to try and escape, go to page 63. You can try to hitch a ride, go to page 85. If you don't know what to do, go to page 87. And throughout the book, you would reach these decision points where you got to actually choose what the main character was doing at each step of the way. So Giorgio and I were kind of inspired by this concept of choose your own adventure. And we sort of were thinking, as marketers, what if our customers or your customers felt like they were in control of their own adventure with your brand? Could we kind of replicate this choose your own adventure concept in the form of an email series? So here's where we're going to go today. We're going to jump into how we created this. And then also at the end of this session, we'll send you a link and you can actually get your own choose your own adventure email series. But we basically have an AI generated email story that at the end of each email gives you a choice. And based on your choice, the next email is not generated yet. So based on your choice, the next email will be generated as you go. So it's 3 parts. So you get a couple different choices and a couple different emails. You also get some fun AI images that we're excited to see. And yeah, we'll jump right into kind of building here and demoing out how we created it. One thing I'm curious about, I'm going to jump over to a different tab here. So let me know if you can't see when I jump to a different tab. I might need to screen share differently. But the recipe of how we created this. One, we have data. We have a couple simple data sources. We have a type form, customer value props that we feed into the AI. For AI and APIs, we're using GPT 3.5, DALL-E 2 for images, and then George is going to show something cool with the Spotify API round out this email series. And then the automation, we're mostly using customer IO for email deliverability and data workflows, personalization, but we're also splashing in a little bit of Zapier here and there as well. So that's kind of which tools we are using. Okay, so starting with the data, here's where I think I need to maybe share full screen to get the other tabs. Okay. Okay.
Looks good.
Looks good. Choose your own adventure landing page.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so here is the simple type form. So actually, we'll send you this after the session too if you want to get your email. But we are essentially just asking a normal form questions. We ask you what movie genre you're into, favorite soundtrack or soundtrack to your life, favorite color. I'll say yellow today. Which part of the customer life cycle are you prioritizing? Yes, we're going to have a little email geeks twist in the AI story. So let's say acquisition. And then which current challenges are blocking your team? Let's say reporting is tough right now. So I already hit submit actually right before the session. So I won't again, but that is basically the data input. And then a user will come into customer IO and we get this nice little piece of event data with all of those attributes attached. So just a view at what's going in. We also have these really big chunks of information. Again, like I said, the email series is going to kind of have a lifecycle marketing jilt to it. And so we've kind of fed them a bunch of information about what Customer IO does to help lifecycle marketers and what they do to help data teams as well. So that's kind of the data going in. Giorgio, I will stop sharing and kick it over to you. The next part is what we actually do with this data, how we actually process it using AI and APIs.
Yes.
I went share window too, if that's helpful.
Yes, just let me get the tab. Can you remind me again where can I share my?
Oh, bottom right by the mute button. Little gray bar.
On the bottom right, right? I don't have it.
Do you have the little settings cog?
Nope.
Naomi, do we have enough admin permissions to share our screens?
Such a good question. Let me just poke around here. I'm just looking at some different tabs.
Giorgio, I know you joined by a different link this morning, right? Is it possible you're not on a speaker link, but on a guest
attendee?
Attendee, just a thought.
Yes.
Do you want to try to rejoin or give it a refresh?
Sure.
Okay. Pressure's on, Cody. Got any jokes for us?
Pressure's on. I'm just catching up in the chat on folks who also remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books. I also feel like I usually made wrong decisions or maybe rash decisions to take risks in those books, and it usually ended badly. Sometimes taking the risk ended well.
Yeah, instant regret.
With the email series that Giorgio is going to hopefully be able to pop back in and show, we have some similar graphical elements that we're trying to be inspired by the Choose Your Own Adventure books, plus Parcel, Unpacked. Love the branding here at this event.
Okay, he's back.
Okay. Yeah, and I got the tools. Thanks so much.
Woohoo!
Okay, yeah, let's jump right into ingredient number 2. which is the API and AI side. Let's just wait. Okay, cool. Yeah, so for the AI side, we use OpenAI API, and we use for the image generation the DALL-E E2 model. If you are familiarized with how the prompts for generating the prompts from generating images are up to speed, DALL-E E2 is not the most recent model. DALL-E E3 is the most recent one, and there are pretty good ones that will generate images at an amazing quality that you can just not even imagine. And then there's GPT 3.5. Again, OpenAI now it's at GPT 4 already. We're using 3.5 just because we don't want to saturate our API limit, and then we just want to make sure that all the stories are generated in time. And then for the last touch, Spotify API. So with all your questions, answers to the questions of the form that Cody just showed before, we are essentially mapping some behavioral data, and then based on your favorite genre to recommend you a song at the end of the email series. Cool. So this is the setup that we created in Customer.io. Let me just increase the size. Okay. The trigger is essentially whenever each of you will submit the form. We can see that we have a number here of people that already submitted the form. And then we have the setup divided into three main chunks, which is the first one. We send an API request back to Zapier. We decided to go with Zapier because we had this model previously created for an internal experiment. And essentially what we do here is plain and simple. We catch the webhook from Customer.io by sending the data that you submitted into your form, into the form. So as you can see here is Cody, which is our identifier to then send back the data to Customer.io. Then what is Cody's problem when it comes to data? What is Cody's problem when it comes to lifecycle usage? What is his favorite movie genre? And then what is his favorite color, which we are going to use as the main color palette for all the image generated that we are going to be creating as we move forward. Then we crafted, this is pretty much, if you have ever tried using ChatGPT, this is much of a trial and error test. You need to try different prompts. You can also sometimes ask as well the model to give you questions that you can answer back to essentially get a better result. And that's exactly what we did until we reached out a point where we got a really good prompt, which was essentially creating a fun and engaging story for a 3-part image series. Then we generated the image based on the intro in this scenario, and then we just send that data back to Customer.io. The image, when we generate that image, that gets stored in a link, and then we just parse that link, download the image, and then we upload the image into the Customer.io service. So here's the first example of the first email that you could potentially receive. So Cody, your hero's journey starts here. I'm not going into detail, but I guess it is worth it to just read a couple of lines. Get ready for a thrilling adventure in the world of lifecycle marketing. Imagine yourself in the mysterious town of Chernville. Get ready for a thrilling ride. We'll keep you on the edge of your seat. As Cody mentioned, the whole intent of this series and experiment is to condition the next emails, AI generated and API based created, based on your decisions and your tailored selections. So assuming that I selected use a data spell in my next email, which is gonna go right here, depending on which button the user clicked, then we are essentially sending 2 different API requests back to Zapier to a second Zap that is essentially doing the same thing. It is generating a climax for the story based on the previous intro text, and then it's generating an image based on the intro text and then the previous image as well, and as well your favorite movie genre and your favorite color palette. So this is how email number 2 could look like. So Cody, you have made a choice to make. As you step into the dark and mysterious straits of Chernville, you can feel the tension in the air. The protagonist, armed with the powerful lifecycle potion tool, cautiously makes their way through the winding alleys, searching for the elusive villain who threatens to disrupt the delicate balance of acquisition and reporting. Remember that was your issue at the beginning. They raise the lifecycle potion tool high above their head, ready to unleash its power and restore order in Chernville. Will the protagonist succeed in their mission and save the day? Only time will tell. And this is on our series, this is the second decision that the user, you, and the protagonist of the story will need to make. So for this scenario, for this experiment, I'm assuming that I choose the join villain button, and then we get into the third, and then we go into the third chunk of the customary workflow, which is doing pretty much the same thing. It is adding the user into a segment based on their click, and then we're sending back again a webhook back to Zapier. That is essentially going to run the same Zap as in step number 2. And this is exactly how the email will be crafted at the end. Since Cody chose to join the dark side, the image is a little bit funky and dark. Always keeping the yellow because that's Cody's favorite color. So yeah, let's just read a couple of lines. As you stand on the precipice of chaos in Chernville, the villain's laughter echoes through the darkened alleys. In a surprising twist, this protagonist facing the other of the dark side decides to join forces with the villain. In a Star Wars-esque revelation, the antagonist declares, "Marker, I am your data." And then based on your music preferences and then on your behavior clicks through the whole campaign, we're also leveraging Spotify API to recommend you a song. In this case, this is the song that was recommended for you, Cody.
Let's see.
Crush. You can add that to your daily playlist.
I can start sending 200,000 API calls a day by listening to this one on repeat.
Yeah, and then let's just look into the last chunk of that third email before we send that third email with after we capture the data back from Zapier. Essentially, we're running an API request to Spotify. Not super important, but is quite necessary to understand what is the difference between a webhook and an API. Essentially, when you run an API, you tell something, essentially you ask for data and then you get the data that you asked for back. Instead of webhook is whenever you just do nothing and you just get notified by data. So here we are actually running an API request to get a specific song based on a specific set of parameters. In this case, we're passing Cody's favorite genre, the US market, and that's it. Cool.
Wonderful. I'm sorry that I joined the dark side, but you all will get a chance to go through this same flow, and we'll see which one you pick. Thanks, Giorgio. The last little piece of this that we have prepped, let me go back to sharing. Okay, there we go. Everybody see back in the workflow?
Yes.
So we come through this, the Spotify stuff happens. You get the final email, and this is a fun series as well. But I think as marketers, we're always looking, how can our emails actually help connect value in your product back to somebody who might be struggling with the problem that your product solves. So just a fun little final piece is what you could do if you were running something like this. And what we have set up here is we learned what lifecycle use case you were having challenges with or focusing on. And so what we have at the end here is just a nice little split based on if you answered acquisition, onboarding, expansion, retention, win back. And then we're really just personalizing the rest of the follow-ups based on which one you chose. Right here, it's just a simple one email that sends you some resources based on that exact use case, in case you're trying to solve that problem in real life and not just in your choose your own adventure story. So as you can see, just some acquisition type tips there. If we went into the retention one, this stuff's pretty pretty basic, but on the other side of AI doing this wild stuff, there's still also this personalization aspect that we're adding here at the end. So retention, obviously, we're not talking about acquisition anymore. We're talking about retention. So there's a final little tidbit that you get at the end to help you move forward if those are actual problems that you filled out in the form. So again, yeah, lots of Customer, lots of Zapier, lots of OpenAI as the tools that kind of powered this. That's kind of the overall gist of the flow. Again, I think we have a few more minutes here, but if you want to try it yourself, we're just as curious as you are to see what you get back. So I think Naomi is actually going to post the link right now. It'll also be in the follow-up email that you get next week with your goodie bag. But if you want to be one of our first folks to try this out, Naomi will throw that link up. You can follow it, fill out that quick 1-minute form, and then we'll trigger the emails to start going out sometime here in the next couple of days, and you'll start getting your 3-part AI series. And remember, you got to go in there and click at the end if you want the email to adapt in the next one. Again, we're just as curious as you. So if you get something fun, post it on social, take a screenshot, use hashtag AI email adventure. This will also be in the emails as well, but we'd love to see what you come up with. All right.
I just dropped the link.
Oh, perfect.
I just dropped the link in the bottom there. If anyone wants to click it and go and choose your own adventure, I think it'll be really fun to see what comes out of it. I did ask a question to both Andy and Aaron yesterday that discussed similar workflows. I'm curious from both of you, how much time does something like this take to set up? If a marketer was like, I want to integrate Zapier, some AI to fetch data, what's the level of uplift a lifecycle marketer potentially is facing?
If you use again the graphic user interface such as Zapier or Customer, I would say it's quite fast. The only thing that you really need to refine is how are you making your prompts. So it's about try, error, and then fix, because you probably would not get at the first time, but as long as you get more used to the best example is just writing against ChatGPT and getting the replies and then try to get the piece of data that you actually need. It can be fast.
Fast as in an hour, couple hours? I think Aaron yesterday quoted us 24 hours, so fast is relative. How much time?
I have this one for us took us without I mean, after we had the prompts and the data set up, 35 minutes.
Okay. That is definitely fast.
The one fun thing was, I think when we originally had one of our original prompts, it was putting a data scientist as the villain in the story. And we were like, we don't really want the data scientist to be against the marketer. Like, everyone's on the same team here. So we had to kind of like keep training the AI to say, no, that's not the villain. So
this was really cool. I feel like a ton of products could lean into this in their own ways. I mean, we're obviously working for an email tool, an email vendor, where our key goals are to hit people at different parts of their life cycle, right? But I even think of e-commerce brands, how they could integrate something like this. If you're a e-commerce clothing store, kind of choosing your adventure of, are you trying to accessorize an outfit? Are you trying to buy a full outfit? Are you buying an outfit 6 months from now, a year from now? What are you looking for? There's a ton of different ways that this could be applied. So really cool to see. I hope that some people were able to fill out the type form. And if there's no more questions for Cody and Giorgio, I will send you both into the wing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Naomi. Thanks, everybody in the audience.
Thanks, everyone. Have fun.